if you're a student, what speed you're in. And if you're a reporter, what kind, are you official, freelance, how long you've been reporting? I'd love to just get to know you really quickly, and then we'll get started. So Marion, you were the first to show us your face. Introduce yourself.
Hi, I am in California and I am a 180-200 student.
Awesome. Sarah Sapp. Well, you.
Hi there, I'm Sarah. I am in St. Louis and I am a student at working on 225.
Awesome. Shanna.
Hi there, I'm a student in California, about 140 and 160.
Awesome. Amanda. And
Hi,
I'm going by the names I see on the screen. So you might have somebody else's name up there. You could take a second before I get to you to put in your real name. Okay, Amanda.
Hi, I'm in California and I'm working on like somewhere around 180-200 right now.
Awesome. And there's another Amanda, Segutan.
Close, Sugiton.
Sugiton. I butchered that. Sorry.
You're good. No, I'm in Kentucky right now and I'm working on 190.
Awesome. A lot of high-speed students here. Danae.
Hi, I'm Danae. I am an official in Bronx Criminal Court.
Awesome.
And I've been reporting for about 8 years.
Nice. That's you, Yvonne Perez.
Hi, I'm in California and I'm working on 180.
Awesome. Trisha.
Hi, I'm in California and I'm in 200.
Very good. Stephanie.
Hospitals, according to experts.
I think she had hers in the chat.
Okay. Oh, okay. I haven't seen the chat yet. Melissa Ty.
Ability to handle.
I'm in California and I'm working on my 200s.
Awesome. Amanda, we already heard from you. Olivia.
To avoid straining local medical facilities.
The city of Long Beach is now inviting people to share their thoughts on the future of street and sidewalk vending. The city is releasing a...
Okay, somebody has their sound on.
Yeah, I'm trying. There we go.
Oh, thank you. Okay, where were we? Olivia Ford?
Hi, Olivia, California, trying to pass this last section of the CSR, the machine.
Awesome. Woo. All right, Julianne?
I'm in Texas. I'm a student and I'm currently at 160.
Awesome. Claudia, driving. Okay, so I'll skip you. Court reporter Debbie. Debbie Dibble. Yay, I know you. Oh, you're on mute. You're on mute. You're on mute. You're not? Oh no.
Okay, can you hear me now?
I can hear you. Yay.
All right, I turned on I said I have not showered and I don't want to see this picture anywhere.
Let me screenshot it right now.
So, back off, baby, back off. So I am Debbie Dibble. I am certified in many places throughout the country. I do I do freelance, official, captioning. I am here to support Cassandra and Carrie and all of you students that I'm so excited to hear. You're just really well on your progress. So I'm here to support and thank you for the invitation.
Awesome. Thank you for joining us. And so those of you who don't know, Debbie Dibble is the past president of the NCRA, National Court Reporters Association. So I'm honored that you're here. Thank you. And then where was I? Karen Perry? Oh, California 120. And then Connie B.
Hi, I'm in California. I'm a student and I'm at 160.
Awesome. And Carla Gregory.
I am a student in California and I'm working on 140.
Very good. Did I miss anybody? There's an iPhone. There's no name on that one. And Shelby Flores. Shelby.
Hi. Yeah, hi. I'm in Texas and I'm just trying to pass my state test.
Awesome. Well, I'm so excited to see you all here. Thank you so much for coming. I want to thank you so much for giving your 1 hour to me today. I hope you'll stay to the end. I do have something I'm going to give you at the end. And thank you, Carrie, for having me. Carrie is just amazing, and she's been such a support to me and to students, and you're just amazing, Carrie. So with that, I am going to get started on my presentation. So can everybody see that? Oops. Oh, you're all muted, so that's fine. Stay muted. Okay, so actually, Carrie, were you going to do? You should start it.
Yeah, actually, and you guys don't need to see me, but I'm going to tell you, I was going to introduce Cassandra, and to me, she's just a regular person who's out there kicking butt at Steno. But I got her bio and I was frankly blown away. You guys may or may not know she's a graduate of South Coast College. She's been doing shorthand for 17 years, but she had a whole life before this life, and it was actually in the tech world. She worked for Fortune 500 tech companies. She's created her own company. She's done so many things that would take a whole hour for me to just go through her bio. It frankly blew me away, Cassandra. She's built her own company. Of course, she's the CEO and the founder and the creator of CoverCrow, which I'm hoping she'll talk a little bit about, because, oh my God, it's the Steno person standing in the corner as an Uber app to get us jobs and connect us with firms that need us immediately. It's just out of this world. But I love it. She was in this tech world and then decided to pursue something she called less stressful. Court reporting. So, I mean, she's just the epitome of what it is of us that makes us great reporters. And every single one of you that's here has that element in you also, or you wouldn't be here. Also, she's got her BA in communication from California State University, Long Beach, studied at Imperial College London, University of London. I am humbled. And you're a mom to a 6-year-old, a wife, and you've got your Dolly Popcorn rescue pony. Your life is amazing. And thank you for coming and sharing it with us today.
Thank you so much, Carrie. Thanks for having me here. So yeah, you touched on my previous career. So I was in technology, Fortune 500 companies. I worked in distribution. I started some major relationships with big companies. You know, you've heard of a couple of them: Apple Computer, Fry's Technology. So I got our companies making products into those. I did emerging tech for a global 500 company, was all over the country. And one day I was at the printer and I went to pick up my document, and I went back to my desk and I'm going through my document, and I had picked up somebody else's document by accident. And it just happened to be a printout of everybody's salary in my whole department. So I got to see what all the guys were making. And I was the only girl. I was the only female throughout most of my career, competing with the guys. And you know, I came in with a degree and postgraduate work, and I had all this experience, and some of these guys didn't have the experience that I had, and they were making more than I was. So I actually quit that day. I was so upset, and I started my own company and grew that company in the first year into a $3 million company with 16 employees, and it took off. We helped pioneer Google keywords and AdWords and Microsoft AdWords. And then, of course, they saw how much money we were making. They took it in-house. So overnight, I was out of a career or out of a job, put the company out of business. And so I was deciding what to do with my life. And I was studying for the LSAT, wanted to be a lawyer. I had always loved the law. And I remembered a girl I had met at a party who was a court reporter, and I had picked her brain. And at first I thought she was a news journalist, and I was like, oh, I wanted to be a journalist at one time. And that isn't what court reporters do. So I picked her brain for about an hour, and it was fascinating. But at the end of it, I thought it's just, you know, glorified secretary or something, and gave it no other thought until years later. Now I'm in this position where I'm thinking about going to law school, remembering what my friend had told me, that her friend that I had talked to made a lot of money. And I'm like, really? Well, how much money? Because I don't want to make less than I was making. So I took a tour of the South Coast College, and that day I was enrolled. So I started court reporting school 2003. It took me 2 years to qualify. Took me another year to pass the state test because they only give them twice a year. So the first time I took the state test, the CSR, I decided to do it on the old school method, no laptop, because I didn't want any computer technology issues, because I had been hearing all the horror stories in school about all the laptop issues, you know, laptop's not working, whatever. So I'm like, I'm just going to go in with paper. So I did it on the typewriter, which was great. And but I ran out of time editing. And had I had a little more time editing, I probably could have passed that one, but I missed it by just a little bit. Coincidentally, well, I'll tell that story in a little bit. So I took it again, but I had to wait 6 months for the next test. So the next test came around, and of course I'm doing the laptop this time. In the laptop, you know, it speeds things up. It takes half as long because you've already got it transcribed. So I passed that one. So I got out, and the first year as a new reporter, I had just about everything happen to me that you could imagine. Every bad thing happened to me as a court reporter. And I found a mentor. She was my proofreader, and she was a 25-year court reporter herself. She had owned an agency. And so my first year, I had every single job was proofread for the first couple of years. Well, ever since, but that was, I didn't scope. I didn't have a scopist. I did all my own scoping, but I had a proofreader. And so she became my mentor as well, because she had been through it all as a court reporter and as an agency owner. And she had some debilitating injuries that kept her from reporting, but she was an incredible proofreader. And she was my confidant. I shared everything with her. Things that you don't want to share with an agency. You know, you mess up, you make mistakes. You don't want your agency, your employer, knowing all your mistakes, right? So she was there for me. And I can't even tell you how many times she said this, but it was almost like every day that I came to her with a new story. She's like, in my 25 years, that has never happened to me. That has never, every day, that has never happened to me. Wow, this has never, I mean, every single day of my first year was like this. And then my second year, my sophomore year of reporting, I gained more confidence. I had a lot more experience than other sophomore reporters because of just the first year was so hard. And then I became an official. So I worked for LA County Superior Court. There were 350 people that applied for the job, and I was one of the 10 to make it to the A list. They go A, B, C, D, and I made it to the A list, and I got hired. They had a 5-week training program, and it was amazing. So on Monday, you'd go into the classroom setting, and they'd go over the whole week's worth of what you're going to be going into. And then they broke it down. So every week you were in a different courtroom in a different kind of section of law. So one week you'd be in misdemeanors, another week you'd be in felony, criminal, another week you'd be in juvenile, and another week you'd be in family law and probate. And they had several assignments for you to sit out with during the week. And so it was just an incredible training program, especially as a second year reporter. I had completed my second year, so ending my second year and going into my third. So being an official, I floated the whole time I was with LA Superior Court. I was there for 4 years before the layoffs happened. But floating gave me, I felt, a more solid foundation. It made me a better reporter because I was constantly floating into something that I had no idea what I was getting into. So I couldn't rely on briefs. The reporters there's a nice camaraderie between reporters as an official. They really, really help you out. So when you walk into their courtroom, they have, you know, either a folder for you or some kind of cheat sheet that lets you know everything you need to know. the judge's schedule, when they take breaks and what they're working on, and the cases that, they'll leave notes, handwritten notes, they'll leave the printout of the, everything. You've got the calendar sheet, but then they'll leave their notes. And then they have their a whole sheet of briefs that come up in that department. So everywhere that you float to is a new set of briefs, and the judge says things differently. And so I could never even memorize and write briefs for the oath. Do you solemnly state that the testimony about to give in this proceeding here today shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? You could do a boop, boop, and it comes up, right? But traveling as a reporter into new departments, everybody said it differently. And so I could never even do the oath, briefing it. So I still to this day write out the oath as they're giving it. And the clerks think, oh, she's got a 2-stroke thing that she can just take it all down. But no, I don't. So I'm keeping up with that. I'm getting really nervous. Then we had the layoffs happen in 2012. And I started freelancing in court. So they privatized the civil courtrooms, and civil trials were now privatized. So we immediately started getting hired by the attorneys to go into court. And having floated, I had floated in so many different areas. The only time I had floated into civil, because civil, you make the most money in civil. So the reporters working in civil would bring in their friends to help them with trials. And they would call out on the days that they were doing jury voir dire, and they'd call out on days during jury deliberation. So they would call out sick on those days and go help their friend in the really lucrative trial doing dailies. So I got called in a ton to do jury voir dire and to babysit juries and do a lot of readback. Oh, I've got some good readback stories for you guys. But I would, so I would do a ton of jury voir dire, but I had never done a civil trial from front to back, from beginning to end. I had never done that. So when we got laid off, a lot of us were in the same boat. I had never done real time. I had never done like a full trial. I had never done an appeal, never been a primary on appeal anyway. Had done lots of little appeals as just a contributor. Big capital murder case. I had done a murder case, but only like a 5-minute hearing of it. So I never had to put that together. So when we got laid off, I started a Facebook group for the court reporters, and it was a private group for us laid off officials. And it was a way for us to help encourage each other and to stay connected and to teach each other. So we had so many questions, and I wasn't the only one. Most of us were in that boat. There were a couple of us that were assigned to civil departments, and so they really knew the ropes. But there were a lot of us like me who had just floated or had been assigned in other areas, family law or criminal courtrooms. So we had all kinds of different backgrounds coming together and now having to fill this need in court. So it was the best thing that could have happened to my career, because now I'm doing real time. I was forced to do real time. I was forced to do, go out of my comfort zone and do things that I had never done before and really push my limits and learn a new thing. But also the money. I made more money in my life just getting laid off that year than I had as an official and at any other time in my life. So it was really one of the best things that could have happened. And I'm looking forward to, I shouldn't say this, but everybody should privatize. It's great. Of course, civil, not criminal. But so I've been in freelance bliss ever since. I did try another stint as an official with Orange County briefly for 3 years because it's 7 minutes from home. And I thought I could work on Cover Crow, and then they privatized their civil. So once the civil dried up there, I went back to being civil because this is what I love to do. So starting out, a lot of you are high-speed students, and just a couple of you are reporters. But when I was in school, I remember, so it took me, I hit a wall at 160. It took me about a year to get to 160, and I was plugging along at a good pace. At the time, I was passing through like 4 speeds in a month. And I was kind of like the celebrated around the campus as she's, Jean Gonzalez was bragging about me all over the place. Oh, she's going through really quickly. And so I'd come through very, very quickly. And when I started out, there were 10 of us that started. And I never forgot the statistics that, 10% of the people that start out as court reporters make it. And there's a lot of reasons for that, but I always had that 10%. And I walked into the classroom on the first day of school and I looked around and there's 10 of us. I'm like, wow, that's really easy to figure out these stats. Only one of us are going to make it, and it's me, right? So I knew from like the very, very beginning, like the vision started from day one when I set foot in there. I had no vision of failure at all. I only saw that I'm the one. 10%, it's me. Like, you guys can all quit now. And just go home because it's me. And I say that in jest. But you kind of have to have that confidence and that vision when you walk in to a court reporting program, because it is rough. But I never had an exit plan, and it's important to my exit plan was through that tunnel, and that was all I saw. I saw the end, and the end was me. You can see that little person standing there at the end. That's me at the end, standing there. That's my vision. So I locked it in from day one. So I was going to the Bible is like, this is like 2000 plus years old, where there is no vision, the people perish. And this is so true for everybody. A lot of leaders like to use a vision statement. Companies have vision statements. Having a vision is so important. So I found myself at 160 and I was kind of floundering, because although I had that vision when I started of, okay, the one out of 10, I'm going to make it. And by then, most of those that I had started with had already passed out of the program, like had already left. And I think there was maybe one other girl that started with me that was still there. So that vision got me that far. But then I started to feel really anxious and really lost and stressed of going through school. I had taken a job at Gigatron in tech support, thinking, okay, I'm going to learn the software. It's going to be really helpful. And then I found myself at 160 and I hit a wall. Like, it had taken me, I was passing through like 4 speeds a month, and all of a sudden I'm stuck at 160. I think I was stuck there for like 6 months. And to me, that was a very, 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 very long time. And during that time, it was getting really dark. You could see this vision in front of you, this darkness. And I felt the darkness and I felt the anxiety, and I had never felt this before in my life, where it was just really, really hard. And my life was hard, and things were, it wasn't progressing as I thought. I'd always been able to have a goal and accomplish my goals. It was always that easy for me. This was different. So what I started doing was breaking down my goals into smaller bite-sized things that I could do and I could control and I could accomplish. So I would, okay, this week I'm going to, we have a push goal in a trail class. I'm going to write every single test and I'm going to transcribe everything. So I would make little things like that. And if I accomplished it, even if I didn't pass my test that week, I had something to celebrate and something to accomplish. And I would give myself rewards. So I would reward myself. The reward system, by the way, works really well with dogs, ponies, and children. But it works really well in court reporting too. Giving yourself rewards work really well. Punishment doesn't work so much. Rewards works really well. So set a smaller goal and give yourself a reward. So I would have like movies or little trips, or, and I had a big trip, by the way. When I got out of court reporting school, I'm like, I'm going to go to San Francisco and have a girls trip. And that was like, so there was that vision that I had of this reward. So you give yourself rewards. But with a vision, so I was in 160, I was doing everything I could to try to accomplish something because my speeds weren't moving. And I was going to church like 3 days a week at this time. And I happened to go to church, and there was a lady there, and she had a vision for me, and she went into kind of her, she started to tell me that I was like in a tunnel, in this very long, dark tunnel. And I'm like, yes, that's where I am, and that's where I've been, and it's a very long, dark tunnel. She said, but you're closer to the end of it than you are to the beginning where you started. And I'm like, well, that's good to know, because I felt like I was halfway. So that was nice to hear that I was a little closer to the end of the tunnel than I was to the beginning where I started. And then she said, and the end of the tunnel that you're heading into, that you're going to, is bright. And it's this bright light, and it's this beautiful world waiting for you. It still wells me up with, I mean, that vision was so powerful and so strong. And I can't remember the exact words that she said, but it stuck with me even to this day. I mean, that was like 17 years ago, and it was powerful. But I hadn't had that vision until then, and I needed it. You know, I needed it because I just felt it was so hard. And I know a lot of you, you know, you're at 160, 180, 200. Some of you have passed that point of, you know, your wall, when you hit a wall in school. But you guys are right there, like where I'm at in the story of my life. And so you're probably feeling it. And I don't know if you have a vision that got you through it, or that is getting you through it, or if you don't have it yet, but it is so important to have that vision, you know, for yourself. And I'm telling you, it got me through to the end of the tunnel and out into the light. And I'm going to tell you how beautiful and brilliant that light is. But before I do that, I have some vision boards, and I need to change my video setting. I don't know if I could do it from here. Oh, I can. Good, good. Okay. So I'm going to unblur my background for a second. And maybe I should stop sharing my PowerPoint for a second. Okay. So what I'm going to do is have you all heard of vision boards? Vision boards are kind of like the, you know, you see it and then it happens. You manifest what you think about and all those things. They're used with, you know, like positive thinkers, coaches. They're very helpful, very powerful tools to help visualize. My brother-in-law and sister used to go and do these seminars, and they put them on for people, and they're called dream building and vision building, and very powerful. It's for when you go test drive a Ferrari, right? Because you're going to have so much wealth that you're going to be able to buy a Ferrari, and you go and you test drive Ferraris, or you go and you do those you go to those model homes and you walk through the home and you visualize yourself in the home. You know, it's very powerful. So I've been doing these. My friend puts these on. She's a doctor, a psychologist, and she puts these on every January at the beginning of the year. She's got another one coming up this January. But this one I did, you can do personal ones. This one I did right when I was either pregnant or just had my daughter. So it's all, you know, family, it's joy, it's kind of the things that you want in your life. So I had an organizer come to my home this past week to help me organize. And she asked me, how do you want to feel when you walk into your office? Because my office is a mess right now. That's why I have the screen up. And so I need help organizing it. She says, how do you want to feel when you walk in your office? And I thought, that's a very strange question. I don't feel, I work, I want to work, you know? But I thought about it for a little while, and I'm like, gosh, you know, I want to feel like focused, like laser focused, streamlined, in the zone. Like I need to work. And I walk into my office now and I'm like, what did I come in here for? And it's like dreamland. But having a vision, having, you know, asking yourself, how do I feel? So all of you have a space that you go to and you're practicing and you work. you work on transcripts, and asking yourself, how do I want to feel when I walk into that space? You know, is it accomplished, focused? You want to feel good about yourself. This is one I did last year, the beginning of last year, and I wanted something for my life, you know, victory, achievement, spark, ignite, networking with friends and fellowship and fun. I want to feel bubbly and effervescent again. I want to light up a room. I want to be a dynamic speaker. I spoke at 2 NCRA conventions. The last one I did last year got me 6 other gigs at state association conventions around the country. Networking, fun, aspire, achieve. I want to stand tall. I want to set lofty goals for myself. I want to have fun. Driving, this year is all about driving, like a locomotive, like a train, moving in the right direction. But I also want to relax and always be burning a fire, you know, relax, coupling, spending time with my partner, and really, you know, driving my dream, you see a Jeep, driving a Jeep is more about driving my dream, driving my business, driving my happiness. So you have kind of a theme for yourself. And then here's one I did a couple years ago when I wanted to lose weight. This one was a big one, but I wanted to lose weight and get fit. So I did a whole vision board about what I wanted to look like, how I wanted to feel, what, you know, all those things. And I lost 60 pounds. So they work, you know, you keep them in front of you, and it's what you aspire to be, what you want to be. And so for all of you sitting there that are students, you know, visualizing your, you know, your study space. So I'm trying to slideshow. Okay, there we go. Trying to visualize that, to really have a solid vision of how you want to feel, where you want to be, and how you're going to get there. It's going to make the rest of, you know, getting to your licensure and getting to that endpoint, it's going to make it so much more powerful and focused. You have to picture yourself winning, you know, not just doing it, not just going to school, not just typing the test, not just doing it, but actually like picture yourself passing it, picture yourself achieving it. And a lot of us, you know, we hold ourselves back. We don't want to achieve it. So we have to work through some of those things. And, you know, Carrie helped me work through some of those things where, you know, you have these fears that are holding yourself back that aren't real, that should not be holding you back, but you're holding yourself back from your dreams of winning, and from passing tests, and from everything. The anxiety, the fear, the stress, all this stuff. Carrie has been huge with just, you know, a couple of her sessions, and it changed my life. It changed everything. And I'll tell you about test anxiety too. I think I have a slide on that coming up. But test anxiety alone, I could spend an hour talking about my test anxiety. But Carrie really helped with that, and just changing all of that. So one of the things about positivity, and there's been studies, I've done some research on this, people who smile, this is like a study, a scientific study that they did, people who smile are more successful. And it's absolutely true. So I went to school. Have you guys all heard of the new show, Judy Justice? It's on Amazon free network. This is Whitney Kumar. She's the court reporter that Judge Judy hired. Judge Judy wanted a real court reporter. And so she just released her second season. She won an Emmy for last season. And so this is Whitney Kumar. She's going all over the country talking about her experience on this show. Now, I went to school with Whitney. So right when I was in my 160s, she had just started school and had caught up to me. So at my 160, she flew through and was at 160. And then when we went to the test, the CSR test, it was a year for her. I think it was about a year. So she flew through, her and two others, Candace, and I can't remember the other one, but the three of them flew through in a year, and they kind of, I think, helped each other get through it together. So she flew through in a year. So by the time I graduated, she was graduating as well. So she came on the scene right about 160 and started showing up in all my classes. And one thing I noticed about Whitney is you could see it right away right here, her smile, right? She is the most positive, really genuinely positive people I've ever met. I don't know how she does it, but she was the prom queen. She, you know, she has so many guy friends, because who wouldn't want to be like her boyfriend? And she and her sister, twin sisters, they're both super, super positive. I saw them in Vegas in Florida, and we were up till like 2 a.m. together in their room, just talking. It was like the best time. And then she had a bunch of people come over, and it was, they're just so positive. And I was in awe the whole time, like, how are they just so positive with how difficult, you know, they've had it. But she started at LA Superior Court 1 year into reporting. And so when I got there, we worked together, and she did all the high profile cases. She did the Britney Spears case, the Mel Gibson divorce, the McCourt Dodger trial. So she was in a high profile long cause family courtroom. So she got all the really good cases, and she's just this nice person. And she was on the LACRA association. She was on their board. And so when the Justice show came up and they were looking for court reporters, they called LA Superior Court, and they called the association, and they said, well, officials, we can't do it because we're officials here, but you need to hire a reporter privately. But we know a really good one who just left. She was laid off, and she's a really good reporter. And so they gave her name. And it's just all about having really good relationships. And it's that smile. It's that, you know, I was riding up an elevator behind her once, and she didn't know it. And she was in a trial. I've done a couple trials with her, doing dailies morning, afternoon. And I've worked for her agency. She owns an agency with her sister, and she's just really, really great, positive all the time. So I'm in an elevator, and I see her, and I was going to say hi, but she's deep in conversation with this attorney. And he's just so enamored by her. And he was asking her, oh, so in the morning, so what's your routine? So you do this. And I mean, they're just having this really great conversation and just getting personal. And I'm thinking, gosh, when was the last time an attorney asked me what my morning routine was? Never, you know. But I was just really, I watched her career and her, you know, from back when I was in the 160s, like 17, 16 years ago. And I've seen her just flourish with her relationships with attorneys, with her relationships with the people in the association and at work, with the Superior Court, and then with her agency and getting clients. And the one thing it really boils down to is right here in this middle picture, that smile, that positive, that really positive energy. She's never complaining. And when she does, it's in such a light way that you just dismiss it. But studies show that it's the positivity. And I think I've got a slide next on it. We're our own worst enemy when it comes to court reporting school and our careers. You know, you look at Olympic athletes, and they compete for like 30 seconds and then they can win a gold medal. We're on the record for 8 hours a day. You know, how many mistakes can you make? I think the 97.5% accuracy on the CSR test, I think that's like 3 errors a page. So we're making 3 errors a page. And I can tell you, every time I make an error, I beat myself up in my head. And as a student, you start beating yourself up, and then it messes up the next word and the next word and the next word. And when you're doing real time, you could see that. You've got to let it go quickly and recover quickly. That's the key to getting through school and passing the CSR, is that positivity and recovering quickly. The faster you can recover from a mistake or from an error and stop beating yourself up, the better you're going to be. And you have to get over that. You have to recover quickly, because the next word counts on it. If you're beating yourself up from one mistake, you know, it just goes like dominoes. It has an effect every other stroke after that. And if you can't recover quickly, you on the test. So that positivity, you have to focus on getting that positivity in your mind and being able to recover and getting back to that status quo with the positive status, and just forget about it and let it go, forget and let it go, forget and let it go, and just slow down. And it's okay, drop and then get back on the horse, just. So one thing, I talked to a student years ago, and she came back to me recently, and she's like, gosh, that one thing you told me has kept me going. So I have to tell you here today. She goes, you told me once that nobody cares how long it took you to get through school. And they don't. You have an officer come up to you in the car, he pulls you over for a ticket, and he walks up to your window and he's looking at you, and you don't ask him, so officer, how long did it take you to get through the, I heard that not every officer makes it through the academy. Like, how many times did it take you to get through the academy? You're not going to ask him that. Nobody's going to ask you that. Nobody's ever going to ask you how long it took you to get through school, how long it took you to get your CSR, how many times did you have to take it before you succeeded. Nobody's going to ask you that when you're out there working. You don't call up an agency and they don't ask you, so how long did it take you to get through school? How many times did you pass the CSR? Nobody's ever going to ask you that. They're going to say, can you take this job for me tomorrow? Really, it comes down to that. And right now with the amount of the demand is really high and the supply is really short. So nobody's ever going to ask you that. So we can just put that one to bed right now. Overcoming your fears, overcoming that negative voice. I talked about that negative voice in your head, and then embracing those around you positively. So in court reporting school, there's a lot of competition, and you're looking at others around you and you're comparing yourself. You have to stop that, because everybody gets through court reporting school at their own pace. And even as a working reporter, there's a lot of that happening. When we got laid off, there was a lot of that. And I actually had a reporter tell an agency, oh, don't hire her. She's getting too many jobs. There's a lot of that competition, that feeling of competition out there. But I would encourage you to embrace those around you positively and don't see them as competitors. And don't buy into that, because they're not your competition. We're in a very, very small market where we need each other. And I remember in school, I had a tough time getting through, I think it was one of my law classes. It was really hard. So I formed a study group. So rather than, of course I wanted to get the best grade in the class, but you know what? I formed a study group, and one of the girls had such a hard time with it that I spent more time quizzing her and helping her memorize the material, that I didn't spend as much time memorizing it myself. She got an A, I got a B. I ended up getting a B in the class. But I helped her, and it was more about, coming together and helping each other. We had a group of like 6 of us, and we would study every day, and we'd study for these tests. And sometimes you have to help others around you. It's about pushing people up, not about competing with them, especially in this profession where it's such a small field of reporters. So another thing, I started a real-time boot camp for court reporters when we all got laid off, and we all started to have to do real time for judges when we had never done it before. Like the group of 80 of us, hardly any of us had done real time. So I went to South Coast College and said, hey, I have an idea. Can we take a past real time test, and then can you dictate it at 180, 190, 200, 210, 225, and then back to 200 so that we could work on our real time skills? And the school said, well, it's a long story. Initially, they said no, and then I came back. I said, well, there's 25 people who want to do it. And they're like, well, it's tempting, but still no. So I came back a couple days later and said, well, there's 60 people now who want to take the class. And we ended up selling out the first class. They said yes. We ended up selling out the first class and overflowing. We had another room where they had it on video because there was so much overflow. And I helped all those laid off reporters. Almost every single one of them were in these real-time classes, and then other freelance reporters. And in that first class, I think 15 of us took the DRA real-time exam, and 30 of us took it, and then 15 of us passed it. Not me. I'm a bad test taker, but that's a story I'll get into with Carrie. But helping those around you and embracing them, because I want to stress something. These people that you're in school with are going to be the people that you work with eventually. And my networking, I actually made money because of the networking relationships that I had than just going out and picking up a phone and cold calling agencies, trying to get my foot in the door. And I hardly ever had to do that. I get all my work through those people, and a lot of them I went to school with. A lot of them I still know, and like Whitney and Candace, and there's a lot of reporters that I went to school with. So rather than, wasting your energy on looking at them as competitors, those are going to be the people that you work with. So developing professional relationships, long-term, very, very long-term relationships with these people, start thinking about that in school, because these are the ones who make it through are going to be the ones that you're going to be the tightest with and the closest with. They're going to be helping you get jobs, helping share with you their rate sheets and what agencies are working for, and all the information that you need as a reporter. These are things that you can't find out there. And it's a commodity knowing this stuff. So a couple of tips for students if you're stuck. One of the things I did was going back to my theory. So I started this in 160 when I felt like I just couldn't move forward. Going back to my theory book. So I got my theory book and I went through page by page until I was from cover to cover, going back through your theory. And while you think that you're solid on your theory, I found a lot of things. I'm like, oh yeah, I had forgotten that one and forgotten that one. Because if you're stuck, if you're not progressing through speeds, there's hesitation somewhere. And that all goes down to your foundation and your theory. So if you can go back to your foundation and make sure that it's solid, that can usually resolve a lot of the problems that you have with passing through the 160 and 180. Once you get to those higher speeds where you just can't get any farther, that's, that'll usually resolve it. And I did that. I actually went through my theory book twice, and then I flew through. Push, goal, and trail. South Coast sets it up this way. So you spend an hour in push, an hour in your goal class, and then an hour in your trail class. There's schools out there that I'm finding out that they're not doing that. I think that's really important. So your goal is obviously, if you're at a 180 speed, that's your goal. Your push would be 200 or 190. And then your trail would be 160. So what you want to do in your push, goal, and trail is goal. Obviously, you want to get it. You want to nail it. You want to get the speed and the accuracy. You want to get it all, and you want to try your very, very hardest. With your trail, you want to slow it down. It should be slow enough for you where you just get it as cleanly as you can. Clean, clean, clean is the goal. If you have to drop a word to get it clean, do it. The goal is clean. And then your push, you want to get everything. You want to get a stroke for everything. You want to just push, push, push. You don't care how clean it is, you push. And so the combination of these three things is what really, really helps. And I was surprised to find that not a lot of students know about this. So I wanted to share it with you today, because that's, I think, really important. There was something else I was going to tell you, and then I forgot what it was. There's a lot of chat going on too. And you guys can see that. Okay, so now we're going to get into the light. What a beautiful profession this is. I love court reporting. I started the Facebook group Why I Love Court Reporting. So if you're not a member of the Facebook group Why I Love Court Reporting, please join it today. There's a lot of positive stuff there. And here's something just to motivate you. Rates are increasing. My freelancer rates are increasing. I remember we started out with a full day per diem of $800 in court. My normal rate is $1,200, but this agency offered $1,400 to just show up and appear for the day. I'm seeing crazy per diem rates out there. So trial full day appearance per diem, I'm seeing $1,500, $1,600 just to show up. And then you have the rough transcript, you have the expedited final, and these are statutory rates too. So in court, this isn't even the highest rate that you could earn on an expedite. Then you've got you add the half day per diem to make up for the lack of, 50 years of rate increases, no rate increases for 50 years. And then you have the PDF, and then you have the real time for the judge. Now I've done trials where I'm getting real time to the defense attorney, real time to the plaintiff attorney. They're both ordering roughs. And then I have 5 defendants. And so now I'm getting 5 defendant roughs, and then 5 defendant expedites, and then 5 defendant PDFs, and then 5 defendant real time, and then real time for the plaintiffs. So I've made like over $5,500 for a day for a trial, with all of the bells and whistles. So obviously you're not going to be making this kind of money first year out of school. You probably start doing real time anywhere between 5 to 7 years into your career. But you can start doing expedites, maybe wait until you have a scopist, then that's a whole different thing. You can get on Stenovate and find a scopist, and you could work with them, and Stenovate is amazing. But you could, once you start hiring scopists, then you can start doing these expedites. I wouldn't recommend doing one unless you've got a scopist working with you, because there's just not enough time in the day for you to do it all yourself. And then you have to have balance too. A personal life. So my daily trial schedule, I usually get up at 4 or 5 in the morning and finish edits, and then get out the final transcript. I've been working on Cover Crow during that time as well. And then my trials usually go to LA. This one happens to be close, so it's only a 30-minute drive, which is great. I could leave later. And then so it starts anywhere between 8:30 and 10:30, the trials. This one happened to be, I think this one started at 10 this day. So then trial, the reason I love trial is, it's going to have a break from 12 to 1:30 for lunch. And then you're going to be done by 4:30 because the sheriffs have to leave the building and they kick everybody out. So I love having that. Sometimes the start time is a moving target, but you always know you're going to have a lunch. Although sometimes now the judges are going into lunch, you never know. But that's kind of my day. Then, so I'll send the first file, the morning file. If we start at 8, I'll have a morning file at 10:30, and then at noon, and then I'll have a PM. I'll have the afternoon break is at 3:30. I'll send a scopist the afternoon PM1 file, and then a PM2 file. And then by the time I get home, I'll usually have all of those back, and then I can start going through and doing the checks. So I'll create my rough, and then I continue proofreading and editing and going back through it. And then that's why usually in the morning I have the final. So that's kind of my routine with trial. Luckily, this trial is only Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, so I have Thursday, Friday off. Lets me catch up. So the other thing is the salaries are rising for officialships. San Francisco's up to 130. Riverside is the next highest. San Diego, YOLO. Who would think that that's higher than LA? But yeah, the salaries are all going up. And just so when I was an official, I think the salary was $96,000, and my transcript income was another $17,000 to $20,000, which was on the lowest side. It's probably one of the lowest earning reporters, official reporters in LA County. As a floater, because I floated in, like I said, I did a lot of jury voir dire, and that never got ordered. So that was probably the lowest, but a lot of the reporters, there were reporters making, the salary was the icing on the cake. It was just, they put their salary into their savings because they didn't live on their salary. They lived on their transcript income. So their transcript income, I was told, would be equal to this salary or greater. And I knew one that was making in the long cause court, you know, 300,000 a year just on transcripts, and then the salary on top of that. So then you get the benefits and all that. So and right now they're hiring everywhere. There is a shortage. There are a lot of officials that are retiring from court and going into freelance. So the shortage is being felt really hard right now in Superior Court, all over the country. You can have your pick of anywhere. I know a reporter who went all over the country interviewing for Superior Courts and district courts all over, and she ended up in Tennessee, and she's super happy there. She lives in the woods now, and so you can really write your own ticket right now. Another friend of mine had always wanted to work in San Luis Obispo. That was her plan, to retire in San Luis Obispo, and that job opening came up. So you can pick where you want to work. It's like no other time I've heard of in the 17 years I've been here. This is really, really, really a great time to be a court reporter. Remote is here to stay. I am declaring that loudly and proudly, and I stand behind it. I think I'm right. I don't think remote is going to go away. I think it's going to help the shortage, because we can have reporters like Carrie and I are getting, and Debbie Dibble, we're getting our license from multiple states. I have my Washington and California. I think Carrie has Albuquerque, New Mexico, California, Washington too, right, Carrie? You've got a bunch of certs.
Yeah, Washington and Nevada.
Yeah. And I know Debbie Dibble has multiple. There's a lot of us getting multiples. And then you can go move to slower places, you know, less expensive places. LA's got to be one of the highest cost of living, you know, Orange County, California, the highest cost of living in the country. But there are reporters who are moving to, you know, one of them has a house in Puerto Rico, and she goes there and works from there. Some of them have it in like Cabo San Lucas, Nevada. They're moving to less expensive places and still getting the California you know, income. So remote's going to help the shortage. It's going to help our lifestyle. Remote's amazing. School takes less time now. South Coast College, I did a commencement speech for their school a couple years ago. The year after the pandemic, it was June of 2021. And because of the pandemic, California Department of Education doesn't allow online schooling, so you can't do it. But during the pandemic, they allowed them to develop a program that they created just for their students. And 6 of them flew through in a year, which is unprecedented. So that now the combination of that online program and then the in-person is allowing students to fly through at unprecedented short amount of time. So it's amazing. The demand is bigger than ever. We talked about that. And then the theories are getting shorter. You've got Mark Kissingbury and Allie Hall out there teaching shorter theories. Now I have a different opinion on short theories. I had carpal tunnel. I'm trying to say it quickly because it's 10:58, but I had carpal tunnel and I was out for 14 months. And when I came back, I lost all my briefs in my head. And I relied on I wrote everything out. I relied on my theory. And I got back to speed very quickly. Some of those briefs I still don't, you know, they never came back. But you can't get by on memorizing theory. You have to program it in, and you'll never lose that programming. So writing a longer theory can be a benefit. So don't always go for the short theory. I think get to 200 on writing it out on a longer theory, and then build your briefs after that. So more technology and podcasts for court reporters. Yeah, there's so many things now. There's so many podcasts. I love it. There's so many Facebook groups. There's so many, like, it's amazing. Social influencers and videos, and it's so much fun now to be a court reporter than it was in 2003. But more technology. I'm going to talk about that. The future of court reporting. I think the future of court reporting is very bright. I think in the 1980s, there was a shortage of court reporters, and they came back with a vengeance. And we're on that track, that trajectory right now to come back with a vengeance. We've got more court reporting students in schools than we've had in the last 20 years. But one of the things, I met a pilot recently, and he told me, you know, planes, you could fly planes remotely, automatically, and we've had that technology for a while, but they don't get rid of the pilots, the human pilot. You need a human pilot. And so it's very similar in what's happening with our industry. We're not the only industry going through it. The trucking industry, they're automating trucking, they're automating automation, they're automating everything and anything that they can. But there are things that like a surgeon, sure, they have those automation tools for surgery, but you always have a surgeon behind it. You're always going to have a pilot in the plane, even though they have the automated technology now. And court reporters are similar. And the importance, and I don't have a lot of time to get into it, but our role as the responsible charge is what makes us more valuable than anything. And they can't replace us as long as we position ourselves as the responsible charge. Like a surgeon, like a pilot, like a plane pilot, we're similar. There's also engineers, the Society of Engineers, they're the responsible charge. There's so many other industries that have gained strength by positioning themselves as a responsible charge, and they're indestructible now. And that's what's happening in our industry. We're educating the whole industry about our value, and that being our main value is that we're the responsible charge. So there's a new technology. This is being launched next week. It's a student. So Cover Crow has added the ability to pair students with court reporters for apprentice opportunities and depot apprentice hours and mentoring. So if a student is looking for a mentor or looking for a court reporter to sit out and get your court hours or your depot hours with, you can go here. It's going to be we're going to give you a website and a password, and you can get in and you can pick what you want. So you can say, I want to get my court hours, and then put in your zip code, and it'll find reporters within 50 miles of your zip code that you could go in person or remote. So you could select remote or in person, or if you just want to find a mentor. And then it'll give you information like their hours, where they normally work, if they're in court, what courthouses they go to. It even gives you their CAT software, their theory that they learned, and their school over here, their alma mater. It gives you their city location, city, state, zip. If they choose to share their email and phone, it'll be in here. Or you can message them through the platform by just clicking on message, and we will send them an email so that we're not sharing that on here. And then in this, lorem ipsum dolor, this is just programmer language they put in as a placeholder. So this will be kind of their bio. They'll tell you a little bit about the experience that they expect for you to have by sitting out with them, like what you can expect. And so this is coming next week, and I'm very excited about it. And then Cover Crow. So Cover Crow is a job board for court reporters. It hooks up court reporters with agencies. And it also has all kinds of automation. It lets you check in with your live availability, which you can do like a court roll call, just available, not available, on vacation, whatever your availability would be. And then they could see it on a map. So you could see all these red dots are the jobs that are available. Here's your location. And then the green dots would be court reporters who are available. And you could see all dates this week, next week, this month, next month. You could set up job alerts. So you'd only get emails for the jobs that you want. You can create up to 3 job alerts, and then you can do an auto accept. So if a job comes on the board that's exactly what you're looking for, it'll automatically send a message to the agency that this is that you can cover it, that you want to take it. And then this is our job board. You could choose to cover it, inquire. You can pass or like a job as well. And then it gives you all the information here. It shows you if it's in person or remote. And then the nest view. This is our newest feature. And this launched last week. A nest view is like a Yelp review. You can review the job location. And I don't have a screenshot of that for you here, but I'm happy to share it with you if you want to email me, info@CoverCrow. And then lastly, I will give you a gift for attending today. This is a state certification and remote notary requirement chart. You could see the requirements for each state. So I am happy to email that to you. Just send me an email at info@CoverCrow and I'll happily send it back to you. It's a nice handy chart. And thank you so much for spending an hour with me and taking the time out to really learn and grow and take time and invest in yourself and invest in your career, invest in this great profession called court reporting. And I hope all of you are working with Carrie because she is amazing. And all right. Any questions? I told you you could ask me anything. And then what did I do? I waited until 11:05. Time's over. So
I was gonna say, do you want to stop screen share and just open it up for questions? Because
yeah,
that'd be great. Cool. You know how court reporters never talk. So come on, you guys, practice using your voice.
yeah, any chance we can all get those websites for ourselves? It was too fast. So you're talking about like the Stenovate and Why I Love Court Reporting. What else did I cover? CoverCrow.
CoverCrow. Wow. Yeah, that was a lot. My gosh. Wow.
And I'm sure I left out half of what I wanted to tell you. How did you resolve your carpal tunnel? Oh, so carpal tunnel, luckily I was employed by Los Angeles County. I cried so hard the day I found out the doctor diagnosed me with carpal tunnel because it was my biggest fear. It's the big CT word in school, right? It was the biggest fear I ever had in school was, what if I get carpal tunnel? And then it happened to me and I cried and I thought my career was over. I thought it was over. And I was just devastated. But it's not a career-ending thing. I had the surgery bilaterally, and I had a great doctor who I have no scars today. He did the endoscopic procedure, which is the best. It reduces the amount of time it takes to heal. That was like 10 years ago, and I'm still pain-free. And he said, you know, it should be good forever. Plus, I have lifetime medical, so if it comes back, I can just have the surgery again. But it took 14 months before I could have the surgery. And because of that, the nerve damage was done, and it's irreparable. Once you have nerve damage, there's no way to heal those nerves. So I have a 17% disability in my hands, which comes up when I'm like cooking or holding my daughter. And my dad met an insurance adjuster at a car wash, and she had carpal tunnel, and she said she just went and got the surgery, then expected them to reimburse her for it. And that's smart. So if you get carpal tunnel, go get the surgery and have insurance reimburse you for it, because the longer you wait, the more nerve damage happens, and that's irreparable. So that's my one regret. But coming back after that, it took me like 2 weeks to get back up to speed. And another big tip I can give all of you is an anti-inflammation diet. So watch what you eat, you know, beer, steak, you know, all those fast food things are not good for court reporters. You want to, and one of the doctors told me that you're either going to get it or you're not. You're either predisposed for carpal tunnel or you're not. And so there's reporters who can work, you know, 50 years and never get it. And there's some like me who I think it was 3 or 4 years into my career got it. So I had inflammation in my body. You hear of people who get pregnant will get carpal tunnel, and then after they have the baby, it goes away. I had inflammation in my body, unexplained, and that's what brought on the carpal tunnel. It came on acutely. So inflammation, controlling inflammation in your body, learning about inflammation, learning about the right foods to eat. We have to take care of our bodies as court reporters, because what we do is very physical. You know, we need to treat this career like we are Olympic athletes, and we need to do that mentally with creating vision boards and positive attitudes, but also we need to do that nutritionally and also work out and develop strength in your core, in your back, with your abdomens, because we're sitting for long periods of time. A lot of us have hip flexor problems, so learning stretches and yoga for your hip flexors because you're sitting all day. There's a lot of things that you can do, you know, with round shoulder syndrome, which I have, to do these stretches that they showed me. So working with chiropractors, doing yoga, doing Pilates, strength training, but nutrition, like really become experts at the anti-inflammation diet. Because if you have any pain, tendonitis, I suffered from that as well, cubital tunnel, carpal tunnel. The minute I start having pain, change your diet. Go on like the anti-inflammation diet for a week, and you'll notice that your pain goes away very quickly, because all pain is related to inflammation. All disease in the body is related to inflammation. So if you can control the inflammation in your body, you're going to have a much better chance of not developing carpal tunnel, or if you have carpal tunnel, to watch it. I never took one pain pill I had severe carpal tunnel, 10 out of 10, severe. I couldn't hold a magazine is how bad it was. I couldn't sleep at night because they were just, you have your foot fall asleep and it comes back to life. And that pain of when your foot wakes up from falling asleep, that pain was there constantly. And I never took one pain pill, not one, because I knew too many people who had to go through drug rehab to get off those pain medications. So the thing that helped me was the anti-inflammation diet. So if you can control the inflammation, you can control the pain and the disease. So that was a long answer, sorry. How you got through your test anxiety and how you stay in the zone. Oh, this was the one important thing. Okay, stay for this one. Okay, I found the button. There's a button. Okay, there's a switch that you can turn on and off for anxiety. I found it. So I went through, and I think Carrie helped me get there. So I had severe test anxiety. It's funny because I had stage fright and anxiety since I was a little kid. I ended up as a speech major in college because I was one letter off. I wanted to be a journalist, but that's under communications with an S. And I signed up for speech communication, which was all speeches. So I made a pact with myself that I would never quit the program, because the studies show that it takes longer to get out of college if you change your major. So I never wanted to change my major. So I'm like, I'm sticking to my major. I know it's not what I wanted, but I'm sticking to it. So I endured like 4 years of college of excruciating, horrible performances and stage fright. I actually got a D on a speech because I'm so bad. So my stage fright was huge. Well, my test anxiety was even worse. I'd finish the test and I'd be like, what am I supposed to do now? I'm supposed to create an ASCII. How do I do that? My brain, I would lose everything would just be a blur. And it was so bad. So I started working with Carrie, doing hypnosis sessions with her. And it was, it really helped. And then I found it. All right. So if you're sitting there, if everybody's sitting there and you tell your right leg, okay, I'm going to lift my leg, right? Tell your leg, lift your leg, but don't lift it. But tell your leg, okay, I want to lift my leg, but then you don't lift it. Now I want you to just lift your leg. Just lift your right leg, right? There's a difference between telling your leg to do something and actually doing it. And when you do it, you don't tell it to do it. It just does it. But where does it come from? That's the switch. That's the same place where you turn it on and off. Like I got a privacy screen for my monitor, my laptop, because when a jury sits behind me, they're watching me. And I get so nervous, I lose it. I can't write anymore. I'm like all over the place. I get so nervous with a jury watching me that I got that expensive privacy screen. And it doesn't bother me anymore. Although it did this week, I started writing sloppy and I'm like, what's going on? Oh, the jury's watching me. They're sitting 2 feet away from me. And I'm like, they're watching me. I can feel them watching me. It's affecting my writing, like subconsciously. It's on a subconscious level that I wasn't aware that they were watching me until I realized my writing's faltering. What's happening? My subconscious mind is like, they're watching you. So it's interesting, but Carrie can help you with that. But I couldn't have gotten there without all that work I did with Carrie, with the hypnotism and relaxing and getting to that subconscious level first and calming down that anxiety that's going on. You've got to calm that down and then you can find that switch. But there is a switch in your brain. And now I did the last NCRA convention, the speech. It got rid of my speech anxiety. Like I have speech anxiety for a few seconds of it. And it used to be so bad that I would cry during my speeches. And it got rid of it. And it's like a switch. It's a switch. And I can't explain it to you other than that example of lifting up your leg. What's happening when you're lifting up your leg is the place that you can find that switch in your brain, and you just turn it off. You just turn it on. You just do it. You just do it. And so I've taken several tests after that. Now I'm not ready now because I haven't been building up my speed, but I don't have the anxiety and the nervousness in the test anymore. And so I hope that's helpful. It's hard to describe and to eliminate, but you'll get there. You can get there, especially working with Carrie. She can get you there because there's something going on that you need to address and resolve so that you can get there. So a question, what theory did I write? So I learned the Robert Walsh Gonzalez theory, which is a very long theory. You write everything out. And did you shorten more after that? Well, I didn't listen in school on the first week of school. I'm like, why do I have to come back for the G? Can't I just add it to the word? And they're like, yeah, but you're going to have to define all that in your dictionary. I'm like, okay, I could do that. So I did that. I was like tucking my endings from day one, just from my own, like the D's and the G's and the everything that I could, and the S's and the Z's. I'd tuck it. So I shortened my writing from day one. And I've been doing that, and you just change it. The one thing I couldn't do was and, so now I write A-N-D. I don't do the SKP for some reason. I just couldn't do that. And so I came out of school with like 1,400 briefs. And if you're going to learn briefs, don't sit there and write from a list of briefs and try to memorize it that way. Please don't do that. You're never going to learn briefs trying to memorize it that way. They gave us, and oh, Carla, they gave us a packet at the beginning of each week of all the dictation material for the week. And I would spend Sunday going through the material, anything more than 2 syllables, 3 syllables. I would underline it with a ruler because I was very neat. And above that, I would look up the brief in the brief encounter book, and I'd put the brief over it in brackets. And so as we go through the dictation material all week, I'm reading it at the same time as they're dictating it. So I'm reading it, which really helped me, by the way, doing real time later when you're training yourself to read at the same time as they're dictating. It's very, very helpful because you become a much better real-time writer. You can edit at the same time as you're reading because you're multitasking. So I would read the material and I'd see the brief and I'd practice it. So all week long, you're writing this material where you're imprinting those briefs on your brain. It's much easier to program steno and into our brain than to memorize steno. Like I can't even tell you what's on the keyboard. I can't. I just, if you ask me how to write this, I'm like, it's this. You know, I'm a kinesthetic. Everything is through my fingers, and I have a kinesthetic memory of what people said too, because of that. I don't even look at people would put charts of what the keys translated into. I never did that. I just learned it, and I never memorized it to translate it. The more you can do with programming it into your brain, the faster you're going to be, and the better it gets. So I never memorized briefs. I programmed them into my writing. And so now I use the brief encounter on my software. So it comes up with brief suggestions. And I also still keep a little, usually in a trial, I'll keep one. Here's my trial that I'm doing right now. I keep one sheet of paper in front of me. I used to have like 3 or 4 or 5, but big trials, and it depends. Like if I was doing asbestos trials and it was new, or I was doing a med-mal case or Guillain-Barré syndrome case, you know. So now I just keep little ones. So here's, I don't know if you could see this. I'd have to turn that off. Let me turn that off.
Yeah.
Okay.
There we
So
go.
here's my trial that I'm working on now. And you can see I have the case caption, the case name, people's names I have briefs for, and I write them in brackets. And then I have a little, here's the jury list. I can't show you the juror names, but I have at the bottom are all the briefs that are coming up during this trial. And this is all I need for this trial. There's really not a whole lot of big words, but these were coming up. So Mercury, M-O-U-R, Bertoy Lutzen Steele, Brile, Karen Aldrich, Shamble, Keim, Disneyland, D-A-E-N-D. So arthropathy, RA, degenerative, cervical, therapeutic, ultrasound, radio. And a lot of these, I do a lot of these kind of trials. So these come up all the time. A lot of the other words come up all the time. So I don't need my briefs as much. but I'm still a big, huge briefer. But the thing is, I still have my long theory to fall back on. So if okay, I took 5 months off recently to launch Cover Crow. I took that time off so I can focus on that. And when I came back, my first day into a trial was a neurologist. It was I'm trying to remember the case, but anyway, it was 3 experts in one day, a neurologist, a neuroradiologist, and another neuroradiologist, all on the first day back after 5 months off my machine, right? And I kept thinking, oh, I need to practice before I go back to my trial. And it just never happened. So I didn't even get on my machine, not once. I wrote 99.9% that day. And I couldn't remember and I have done neurology cases before. So I had briefs for everything, couldn't remember one of them, not one. So what I did was I was sitting there and I closed my eyes because they go really fast, these doctors. And I closed my eyes and I took my time and I wrote the whole word out. And then I opened my eyes, I'm like, it translated because I've done a lot of these, but then it brings up my brief. And so because you can write it cleanly and it was in the dictionary, you can now, the brief suggestion will come up for it. So then I was briefing the word the rest of the day, but that helped a lot. We've got a lot of technology now that is really, really helping us. So another long answer. I'm so sorry. Let's see what else. I'm looking for more questions. So are there any other questions? How do the pay rates in California compare with the cost of living there? Well, you can't find a house in Huntington Beach for less than 1.5 million these days. It's the cost of living here is pretty ridiculous. Gas, almost $6 a gallon, between 5 and 6. It's very expensive. Parking in LA, $20. My husband used to yell at me for $20 lunches. Now I'd be lucky to get out for like, 40, and that's just me. So it's pretty crazy living here. I think I saw another question. I was wondering if it's worth living and working down there, even though the pay rates are high. I'm kind of stuck here because of family, but I would love to live in a forest or anywhere else. But the beach, I love the beach. My daughter's in everything, and she's got everything near her that I wouldn't be able to find anywhere else in the country, I don't think. I mean, she's doing Vietnamese school and Chinese school, and she's doing so much Irish dancing and the gymnastics and the aquatots. I mean, there's so many choices for gymnastics, and it's hard to beat. The restaurants and the theater and everything is right here. And yeah, I really like it. There are people like Debbie and Ron Cook who live somewhere else and they're flying in for trials. And then there's a lot of remote trials. So if you want to get your California license, there's tons of remote work. So where exactly are you in LA? I work in Los Angeles. I live in Orange County. So I'm near the South Coast Plaza area, like Santa Ana, Southern Orange County, the Orange Curtain. Is there a fee for students for Cover Crow? So no, in fact, you don't even have to sign up as a student. We're gonna give you a website link. So if you send me your email, info@CoverCrow, I'll put you in my mailer list, and as soon as it's ready, probably in a week or two, I'll send you the website. So you're gonna need a URL, and then you're gonna need a password to access it. And if you want to message a reporter, you're gonna have to verify your email. So that's all, and it's free for students. It's free for court reporters to be hooked up with a student and to add that to your profile. You just go in your profile and add the student section. And any other questions? Anyone want to show your face and talk? Tell me your stories. Where were you stuck? Were you stuck? Was there a speed that you were stuck at? And what did you do to get beyond it? Maybe hear from some of the high speed students. There was someone at 225. What did you do to get there? I'm not even at 225.
I'm
Nice.
Shelby. I was stuck in 160 for 2 years for some reason.
How did you get past it?
I just kept going to school
Good.
and writing and practicing. It took me a long time, but yeah.
Good for you. It's going to be worth it. Where are you interning? It says intern.
Oh, well, I'm in Texas and I'm in a mentor program. So they call me in for interning and just shadowing from my home. But there's been a lot of no-shows, so I actually haven't really done that here. I was doing that when COVID started in the Austin area, and just sitting in from home in the courtroom, in the Austin courtroom, and when everybody was remote.
That's awesome. It's
Yeah.
been really great for students, I think, because you can get into courtrooms all over the country now and just watch, and you can write to them, and it's been amazing.
Yeah, I started in California, and I actually interned in the Santa Cruz, I guess, Superior Court there a couple of times. I went to school in California, and then I moved. I'm from Texas, so I moved back home.
That's great.
Yeah.
Well, thank you everybody for coming. Oh, another
Thank you.
Do you do any remote work or all in person? So at the beginning of COVID, I was doing remote depots for about a year, and then I went back to in person in January of 2021. So I do mostly in-person trials. I've done a lot of remote trials, and I've done like Santa Barbara, Yolo County, Kern County, San Francisco, Santa Barbara. I've done trials all over remotely. I did a couple hearings last week remotely. But I like in person, and there's a lot of people who can't do in person right now. So there's a lot of bonuses for in person. So I do both. Info@covercrow.com is the email that comes in. Any other
Great.
questions? Carrie, you want to add anything to like?
No, I'm, this is great. If anybody has any questions afterwards, hit them directly to the info@CoverCrow, or you can always post them in our group. And if I have a bunch, I'll forward them on over. But no, this has been wonderful, wonderful. We should do this regularly as people are moving through school and on their journey to pick up because I'm sitting here just making massive notes. I've been a reporter for 43 years, and it's like, oh my God, I got to try that. Oh my God. and Carrie will be working on flipping the switch, because when you were talking, it was like, oh my God, I know what that is, but it never occurred to me to it's like, oh yeah, well, it's there. Why not just go directly there? Yeah. Thank you.
Debbie,
right.
I hate to put you on the spot, but I would love to hear from you. Is she still here? Oh, yes,
Did
she
she
is.
have to drop?
Debbie Dibble.
She is still here, but I think that lovely people have been here for an hour and a half. How about I will visit with them another time, because they probably got to go to the potty at some point.
All right.
Yep. We get it.
I'm having so much fun.
I know. We'll have to do it again. It's been great.
All right, thank you, everybody.
Yeah, and good stuff. Thank you so much, Cassandra. And thank you guys for taking this time out of your day to invest in you.
Yeah.
And your tomorrow. Thank you guys.
Sign up on Why I Love Court Reporting, and you can always find me online there.
Cool.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you again. Thank you to
Thank
everybody.
you.
Thank you.
Bye.
And Connie, I'll see you in just a few minutes. You know who you are. I'm going to go ahead and drop off. Thanks, Cassandra.
All right, me
Love
too.
it.
Bye.
Bye-bye,
Thank you.
hon.
Bye-bye.